Hello, good evening, everyone. I can see you guys there. How you guys doing?
Good.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so today is the last day for this module. So let's give a few minutes for the others to show up. We still have 3 minutes remaining. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes, I sent you a message and I sent you a message in the chat.
Oh, okay. Um, who's that? Rizzy?
This is you, Anna.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Let me see. Okay, schools. Hmm. I haven't received messages, Joanna.
Oh, I was asking about the test. You said you were going to send something the assignment. Oh, but I haven't received anything.
Oh, you have not?
No. And I was checking
Oh,
all
and it's
I
due
was checking all
tomorrow.
yeah, and even emailed the school. I spoke with I didn't speak, but I sent an email when I didn't
Mm-hmm.
receive anything for them to like kind of get in contact to see what exactly what's going on. But I haven't even
Okay.
gotten a response from them as yet.
Okay, okay. So you haven't so then you haven't received no emails from me.
No.
Do you receive these chapters, the
Yes.
lectures?
Yes.
And to the same email you send me a message?
I didn't send you an email.
Because
emailed
you
the
don't have my phone
school
number, so how
and
do you try to contact me?
I emailed the school to let them know that I think we're supposed to be getting assignments and I didn't get anything. And I was,
Okay,
checking, looking to see if I did something wrong or didn't click, but I didn't.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, Yuan, do this to me. Um, the same email that I send you these lectures, send me
Uh-huh.
an email and tell me this is Yuan and you have not received the exam. That's what you're trying to tell me.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
send me an email, please. And as soon as we have a little break, I send it to you because it's due tomorrow. Okay.
okay.
So this
Okay.
is a take home test. So I sent it last Thursday, I believe. Yeah.
This is this, this is an Outlook, right?
No, it is on Gmail.
On Gmail.
Uh-huh. Look for ALNH 2010 Gmail and type it on your search on your email and it should definitely show up my email. Do you find it?
What is the email? AL?
ALNH 2010 at Gmail. Otherwise, during the break, I'm going to ask you for your email. You give it to me, and I forward the materials that I send to the other students, okay?
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I don't see anything come up. ALNH
Yeah,
2010 at
you
email.
should, because if you receive this material, these lectures for this medical terminology class, if you receive the materials, then you should have my email at
I
least.
receive it. No, I receive it through this link. This what is it called? The Teams.
Okay,
The yeah, but I haven't gotten an email from anything from this email.
but do you receive it like not long ago when we started this, like the 16th? Or you have
No.
materials from the other professor?
Yeah, yeah, but
Okay,
not from
okay,
you.
okay, okay, got it. So this is what we're gonna do. When I give you a break later on, I'm stay online. I'm gonna take your email and I'm gonna forward these materials, because the materials that the teacher sent you are different to the materials that I have, okay? Because I kind of customize my PowerPoint presentations for you guys. So I will be sending you not only these PowerPoint presentations, but also I will be sending you the exam, okay? So stay put and no, please remind me just in case I forget.
Yes.
As soon as I tell you we're gonna have a break, you said, oh, professor, don't forget to send me the material so you can kind of confirm your email. I have your email, so you confirm that that's the correct one. So I will be forwarding this information when we get a break, okay?
Yes.
So no worries about that. So let's just continue with this chapter. But good thing that you told me, because definitely I didn't know that you have not received it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. We're gonna solve that situation tonight. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. I hope you guys, have a resty day, or you work, whatever you did. But, we're going to make this kind of fast today because there's not much material that we're going to cover. So probably going to be leaving earlier than usual. So as soon as we finish these two short chapters, we're going to call it the day. Remember, tomorrow we're going to start with anatomy and physiology. So at the end of this class, I will be sending you the lectures for anatomy and physiology. So it's going to be another kind of same period of time. Like we're going to do it like for 12 days, and then moving on to the next chapter. And next thing you know, you're going to finish this course. Okay. So for now, let's continue with this medical terminology, the way that we've been working all these past days. So we're going to continue with the medical terms, the word roots, the suffixes, the prefixes, and the definitions of each medical term. Okay, so just bear with me. This time we're going to talk about the nervous system. The nervous system is very complicated system. Let's say that if we're going to talk about anatomy or physiology of the nervous system, because it has all these terms that are difficult to be pronounced, and not only that, it's like we are not familiar with most of them. I'm going to try to make it easy, try to use terms that we are familiar with. Others, unfortunately, we're not familiar with, but we have to cover these parts because we're going to talk about the parts of the nervous system, and these parts or word roots that we're going to use probably are from structures that you're not familiar with. But as with other lectures that we have covered, it's going to happen the same. You're going to get familiar with some things, some other things, well, it's going to be kind of difficult to remember, but you don't need all these medical terms anyway. So you just need to have an idea how to determine, how to break down a medical term, how to put it together, how to find the definition. That's basically what it is. And you're only going to need certain terms because all depends where you're going to be working. And if you change your field, move to another department, another specialty, you're going to start learning those over there, because most of the things that you're going to learn as a new term is going to be the word roots, depending on what specialty are you working with. That's basically what it is. So the nervous system, as the word implies, we're going to talk about those nerves. This nervous doesn't mean, oh, I became nervous, so that is what he's going to be talking about. No, this is about these structures that carries all the impulses from the brain through the spinal cord to the entire body. This is like the electrical wiring of our body. If the electrical wiring of our body doesn't work, it's like the electronics do not work, right? So exactly is happening to our body. We have all these cables around, in between every single organ, within every single organ, everywhere on the skin, that is going to carry and pick up impulses. That's basically what it is. So if we kind of feel someone that touch us or hit us, or we pinch ourselves with something, or we hit something, we're going to have some receptors, and those receptors are going to be feeling that whatever is going on at that time, if it is pain, if it is cold, if it is hot, if if we are sad, and if we are happy, all those things are going to be part of the nervous system. Whether we hear something, whether we see something, that has to do with the nervous system. Think about it. It's dark and you don't have lights in your apartment. Well, electrical wiring is not functioning. So therefore, you're not going to be able to see. So the same goes for our body. If this wiring that is connected to these battery sources is not working, then we're going to have problems having some functions. So that's basically what it is. You're not going to be able to feel. You're not going to be able to see. You're not going to be able to hear. You're not going to be able to taste something, to smell something. So somebody's going to pinch you with a needle, you're not going to feel it, because if you don't have nerves, so the nerves are dead in that particular area. That's why when a patient or someone goes through a surgical procedure, we give them or administer them anesthesia, because that's going to numb all these nerves, so you don't feel the knife. You don't feel that we are cutting through. So after the anesthesia, all the nerves come back and the pain comes back until you heal, or whatever else is necessary, give you some medications. So that is the nervous system. But we're going to see which structures are causing that, which structures made up this nervous system, because that's what it is important. Let's start. So as I mentioned before, the nervous system is made of the brain and the spinal cord. Two very important structures of our body. If the brain fails, we're not going to be able to do anything. We cannot see, we cannot hear, we cannot talk. Let's say someone has an accident, in a motor vehicle accident, and the head is being injured, or the spinal cord is being injured. If the head is injured, probably you're going to lose consciousness. You're going to develop amnesia if you survive, meaning you don't recall anything. If the spinal cord is injured, you might lose movement. You might not be able to walk anymore. So you see the importance of the nervous system. So we have the brain and the spinal cord. Of course, within the brain, we have other structures. Within the spinal cord, we have a bunch of structures. So we are not going to go every single structure, but yes, we're going to talk about some of the functions because this is not anatomy and physiology, but I want you to introduce you to the nervous system, because if we don't know what is it that we're talking about, you just kind of go over certain words and we decompose them and then we give the meaning. So that's not going to be enough. It's good that you understand what is these structures and which ones are and which are the most important ones and how we're going to deal with them in case that one of these structures gets injured. So that's when we're going to use these medical terms as diagnosis, as medical conditions, as procedures that we're going to do to these particular parts of the nervous system. So that's basically what it is. So we have the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord. And those nerves that derive from the brain and from the spinal cord, that is called, that is another term that we're going to be going over in a little bit. So central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Central because it goes in the middle. The brain is connected to the spinal cord. So that will be central. And we have another one that is called the peripheral. Peripheral means on the sides. My arms and my legs are peripheral. They are attached to the trunk, which is the center. The legs are attached to the trunk because the trunk is the center. So that's basically what happened with the central nervous system. We have the brain and the spinal cord. Everything else that branches off from the brain and the spinal cord, we're going to call it the peripheral nervous system. So we're going to see just a very general, basic information or introduction to this. As you can see, here is the peripheral nervous system. So we have the central nervous system, which I'm going to highlight right here. This is the central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. But if you see on the sides, we're going to see that from the brain and from the spinal cord, we're going to have all these nerves deriving from that goes to every single part of the body. So everywhere we have nerves, everywhere, but they are not directly the brain or the spinal cord. They are branches. They are deriving from these structures. Anything that it doesn't belong to the center is called peripheral. Let's say that peripheral to Manhattan is Bronx, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens. That's the periphery. When you live in a neighborhood and in a little town, the houses that are outside of the town, this is the periphery. So they are not part directly of the town. The same goes with this peripheral nervous system, are nerves that are derived from the spinal cord and from the brain. So that's basically what it is. So just talk about basic, remember. So for you to understand. Then we're going to talk about certain structures as word roots. That's it. So in sum, the functions of the nervous system is stated in the following way. Controls and integration of body function. It controls whatever is going on outside our body and inside. We know what's going on within the environment. If it is day, if it is night, if it is cold, if it is hot, if we listening to noises, whatever we see, whatever we feel, but in and out. If something is going on with our stomach, we feel the pain. If we are feeling sad because of something that happens in our lives, the brain is going to receive that information. So it's a control. So everything that is going on in our lives, it is controlled by the nervous system. If the nervous system is shut it down, that's it. We don't. We are just a piece of meat. We don't think, we don't do anything. It helps us with communication. Remember, if the nervous system is functioning normally, I can talk, I can speak, I can make myself understand. But if the nervous system is not working, one of the nerves that controls communication, speech, is damaged, I wouldn't be able to communicate. Think about people who are mute. Think about people who cannot speak normally. It's not because they don't want to. I'm not talking about speaking a different language, even though if it is his or her language, still they speak their language, and people who speak their language, they're going to understand each other. We're not talking about that. We're talking about damage to parts of the brain that controls speech, that controls the vision, that controls hearing, that controls all these receptors of pain, touch, temperature. Because we have the brain that controls all that. Mental activity, I already mentioned it. Thoughts, memory. Can you imagine people who has damage to the brain due to medical conditions, trauma? They lose their memory, amnesia. Because if parts of our body are not functioning correctly, that part of the body that does certain functions, they're going to be shattered, they're going to be damaged. So the function of the nervous system is very important. If our nervous system is not functioning correctly, so then that's it. Someone who is mentally retarded is because the nervous system didn't develop correctly, or develop that you have a damage due to trauma, due to medications, due to the congenital diseases, who knows? So all that has to do with the nervous system. So we're just going to talk about these parts of the nervous system, and we're going to use it as medical terminology. That is basically what we're going to do here. So the nervous system is the most important system in our body. It is so that it controls every single organ in our body. That's what it says, control. And integration, because integrate all these particular organs. The heart functions because of the electrical impulses of the heart are being sent by the nervous system. When our blood pressure increases because we are running, because we are upset, because we are sad or whatever else, it is controlled by the nervous system. We relax, the blood pressure goes down. But if it is a medical condition, that's another issue. Then we have to try to fix the problem with medications, with surgical procedures. For that reason, we need medical terminology. Any questions? Okay, moving on. So let's go over some word roots, some prefixes. Once again, some of these terms you probably never heard about it. Some of them are going to be familiar with you because we use it commonly. Some of them because they are word roots again, by simply seeing a word root, which represents most of the time body part or an instrument or a diagnosis or a medical procedure, if you see it standing alone, you're probably not going to recognize it. But when we put it together with other components of a medical term, whether with a suffix and a prefix, now we are going to give them complete meaning to it. Cephal. Remember, cephal means head. We saw this, we covered this when we covered body parts, the parts of the body, directions. So cephal, head. Cerebrum. This comes from the word cerebrum. Now, yeah, I heard about cerebrum, but cerebrum is kind of difficult, but it's the word root. And remember, it's not English. Probably it's none of the languages that we speak now. This is Latin, and some others are Greek. So for that reason, you're not familiar with that. Encephal. Encephal means brain. Brain. Cerebrum is brain as well. Cephal is a head, not the cerebrum. It's the head in general. Meaning, if you hear this word, probably you're not going to understand it. Meaning are the meninges. So he said, wow, the meninges sounds like meningitis, right? Yes, this is one structure. This is the lining. This is the membrane that protects the brain, the meninges, but it's called the menin. Myel. Seriously, if somebody tells me this, talking in regular conversations, and I'm not a medical related person, I wouldn't be able to understand this at all. Myel means spinal cord. The spinal cord. So we need to get kind of used to listening to these terms. Other than that, it's going to be a little difficult. Okay, moving on. Psych. Well, probably this is more like familiar because sometimes we said, wow, that is psycho. This comes from psychology. This comes from mind. Psych means mind, a psychiatrist. Psychology, study of the mind. Psychiatrist, study of the conditions. So this is the specialist that treats conditions of the brain. So that's how we kind of relate these terms to. But most of these terms are really difficult because you haven't encountered them before. The only time that you're going to get familiar with them is if you start using them continuously. Other than that, this is going to be forgotten. And that is normal. I haven't used tons of medical terms because I just use the ones that I use in my practice, whatever my specialty is. Other than that, no. But I understand them if I see them because I learned them. And because most of parts of the medical term, I'm familiar with them. So then I just put together the word root. That is basically what it is. Let's talk about now some prefixes. Hemi or hemi, either or is correct. Hemi. Hemi means half. Half. Remember the word hemiplegia. Probably you heard about this. Hemiplegia. This is paralysis of half of the body of the patient. These are the patients who cannot walk. They are paralyzed from the waist down. That is called hemiplegia or hemiplegia. Poly. Poly means many. Again, many things that happens. Polymyalgia, polyneuritis, which is that you have many nerves that are swollen, many nerves that are damaged, many muscles that are damaged. But sometimes there is more than one thing that is damaged. So we're not gonna say, oh, this. No, we said poly, because there are more than one structure that is damaged. Quadler, this comes from, once again, quattro, number 4, quadriplegia. See, we have hemiplegia, which is half. Quadriplegia, which means 4. So our entire structures, particularly arms and legs, the limbs, are paralyzed. So we are paralyzed from the neck down, not from the waist down, because everything else, if you have hemiplegia, you will be able to move your arms, your chest, your shoulders, your head. But if you have quadriplegia, you're not going to be able to move your arms, anything. You will be paralyzed from the neck down. So that's basically what it is. Here we have another one, para. I wrote it down because it's very difficult, has lots of other definitions alongside of, besides, near, beyond. So we will have certain word roots and suffixes attached to it. Remember, this is like, think about, it has nothing to do with this term, but when you said paralegal, legal is a complete term. But if you said a paralegal, it changes. Paragravida. Gravida means pregnancy. Para means this person is pregnant. So again, it's just that these are medical terms that we use. So we don't talk like that. We just know whether this person is pregnant, has a pregnancy, or is going to deliver the baby soon. So we're going to go over these terms and we're going to apply them, adding a suffix and a word root, and that will make more sense to us. I just gave you a little definition of what is what some of these word root medical terms we can form with these few suffixes and some prefixes and word roots. Then we're going to talk about some suffixes. Some medical terms. Let's break it down. Now we're going to talk about the words that we're going to divide. So we heard about cerebral. Of course, AL is the suffix, server is the word root, which means brain. pertaining to the brain. Now we have others that we can kind of divide certain terms. Cerebral thrombosis. Thrombosis and cerebral are independent, but we can put it together because this person has a blood clot. Thrombo is a blood clot. And where is the blood clot? Within the brain. But that means within some arteries of the brain. These blood vessels that provides blood, nutrients, oxygen, chemicals to the brain. Cerebral, we already said, is right here. So it is right here. Now, thrombosis, osis is the suffix, throm is the word root. Remember, thromb is a blood clot, and osis is an abnormal condition. This is an abnormal condition of having a blood clot where? Within the brain. That is cerebral thrombosis. So thrombosis is also a condition. I can use it. Someone has thrombosis. What is that? It has it's an abnormal condition of having a blood clot somewhere within the brain. So that's basically the importance of knowing each word root definition, each suffix and prefix definition, if we use them on a medical term. Here we have a long term. It says electroencephalogram. Gram, we know already, we saw it. We went over many times. This is the recording or the radiographic image of something. O is a combining vowel. Encepha, because remember, we cannot say cephal, yes, but this is a different term. This is encephal. This is a word root, which means brain. Electro, O is the combining vowel. An elector is a word root. Elector means electricity. Encephal means brain. Gram means a radiographic image. This is a radiographic image of the electrical or electricity of the brain. The electrical activity of the brain. Remember, it's the same as, not the same, but in the same fashion, we can say electrocardiogram. Oh, this is the recording of the electrical impulses of the heart. Here is a recording or a radiographic image of the electrical activity of the brain. If we're having some issues with the brain, some headaches, problems remembering things, problems putting things together. So the neurologist, which is the specialist that is going to be treating the nervous system, is probably going to order an electroencephalogram to see what's going on. So we have to evaluate the nervous system. That is an electroencephalogram. Electroencephalography or electroencephalograph. Graph is the machine, is the instrument. O is the combining vowel, graph is the suffix, encephal is a word root, O is a combining vowel, and elector is a word root. Remember, elector, as the word implies, electricity. Encephal, brain. Graph is the instrument, the machine, the device. So this is the instrument that we're gonna use to measure the electrical impulses of the brain. So that is how we define these medical terms. So it's very important that we follow this through and give the correct definitions to these terms that makes up these medical terms. These three terms are very related, but they are different. They are talking about the electricity or the electrical activity of the brain. But here on the first one, we actually recording that electrical activity. Here we using an instrument to do this. Here is the process, graphy. Graphy is the process used to record the electrical activity of the brain. So we apply certain little electrodes on the patient's skull. Then all these cables are attached to a machine, and that machine is going to produce an image of how the electrical impulses inside the brain are produced and give us an image. And a neurologist is going to be able to interpret that. Not any other doctor. Has to be a neurologist, because those are the specialists of the nervous system. So gotta be very familiar with these terms so we don't kind of make mistakes, okay? Otherwise, the words or the terms that we use might not be understood, might be talking about something else. Probably you heard about encephalitis. Well, we definitely talk about itis, which is inflammation, which is the suffix in this word. Encephal is the word root that means brain. Inflammation of the brain. Easy. Moving on. Let's talk about neural. Neural. AL is the suffix. Neur means nerves, pertaining to the nerve. Nerve is the word root. Neural, pertaining to the brain. I'm pretty sure that you heard this next one, neuralgia. Probably you have it. Neuralgia is just a headache. Neuralgia is headache. Algia is the suffix, which means pain. Neur is the brain. We don't say, oh, I have pain in the brain. We don't say that. We said we have a headache. But that is in English, right? But in medical terms, algia means pain in the brain. So once again, when I diagnose my patients with headaches, I use neuralgia, and I use the type of headaches that you have, because there are different types of headaches, which means different type of headaches because there are different conditions, situations that causes headache. So it is neuralgia. If you have pain in your articulations or joints, we call it arthralgia. If you have pain in your stomach, we call it gastralgia. So that is how we use these medical terms. So you probably heard about neuralgia. But usually we don't relate it. We have a headache. This is a headache because it's pain to the brain. When we have headache, it's inside the skull, the pain. It's not headache because somebody hit us right here in the skull, bleeds. No, that's not. It is inside. It's the brain, the nervous system that is having some type of disagreement, if you will, some short circuits over there. And that causes us to have these headaches. There are some malfunctioning of the nervous system. Here we have the term that I mentioned already, neurologists. Neurologists. Logis, we know already that is the suffix, which means this is the medical specialist. This is the person who specializes. Nerd or nur is the word root. Here we have a combining vowel. O. Remember, it's neurologists. Neurologists. So this is the specialist or the medical doctor that specializes with the nervous system, not the brain, with the nervous system. It's in general. Gastroenterologist is the medical specialist, the person who specializes in all the organs that makes up the digestive system. Cardiologist is the specialist, the person who specializes in all the organs that has to do with the heart. So that will be logis. Okay, so we have here a term that cannot be mixed up with neurologists. Neurologist, this is neurology. Logist is the person who specializes in the brain. But neurology is the science. It's the science of the study of the brain. I went to university to the Department of Neurology because I wanted to become neurologist. That's what we say. That's how it's interpreted. Neurology. Logi, remember, this is the study of. Let's remove this. So neurology, logi, is the study of. Logi is the suffix. O, oops, is the combining vowel, and nur is the word root. Logi, the science that studies this particular structure, which is the nerve. So whenever you see a question in your exam and see logi, what logi means, the study of. Just simple. But if you see then it says the study of, but then before that says the science, the studies of this, that's also correct. We just want to minimalize. So when we try to make things shorter because it's too much information, we just say the study of, the specialist of. But I'm giving you more information so you can understand how to actually, identify these medical terms, how to define them correctly with all the words, all the terms, because that's how we speak when we talk in this language, English. So that's basically what we want to start doing. Polyarthritis, see? Here it is. Iris is the suffix which means inflammation. Arthur means joints. articulations. Poly means this is a prefix, which means many, which means amount. So this is a prefix. This is inflammation to many joints, not only one. Oh, I'm only complaining about this articulation of my right elbow or left elbow or right knee or left knee, right shoulder or left shoulder. So then we said, oh, I have arthritis on my right shoulder, my left shoulder. But if I'm complaining about 2 or 3 structures at the same time, oh, it hurts right here, it hurts right here and here, well, that's called poly. Polymyalgia. It is next. That is easy now to define because it sounds like the first one that we covered. Polyarthritis, polymyalgia, algia is the suffix, which means pain. My is word root, which means muscle. Poly is a prefix, which means many. Pain to many muscles. So I have pain to a lot of muscles. It's not just this muscle right here, my right leg, my left arm, or my shoulders, or the right side of my chest, blah, blah. No, it is many muscles that are involved. It hurts everywhere. So we said poly. So that's how we are going to be utilizing these medical terms. Polyneuritis. Itis again is the suffix, which means inflammation. Neur is the word root, which means nerves. Poly, once again, is the prefix, which means many. Inflammation of many nerves. So we have several nerves involved, and we don't know which ones are, so just hurts everywhere. So we just complain about that, and we use the appropriate term. That's basically what it is. Any questions about these medical terms? Moving on. So here we have meningomyocele. So this is a long term, meningomyocele. So whenever we pronounce it, we kind of stop, make a little pause in each part of the medical term so it can be understandable. Meningomyelocele, meningomyelocele, meningomyelocele. So we are going to break this down. Cele is the suffix which means hernia. O is a combining vowel. Myel is once again the word root because it has to do with the spinal cord. O, this is a combining vowel. Mening is a word root. Now, don't forget, word root plus combining vowel is a combining form. So we have 2 combining forms right here. Combining form. So this is a hernia to the meninges or the membrane of the spinal cord. So if you look here in this image, what happened is that the spinal cord came off the track from the spinal column. So the vertebrae have a little hole in between and the spinal cord passes through it. But this came out. See, all these spinal vertebrae have a space right here. Through this space passes, the spinal cord passes through there. Here, it went off. See, here is where it's supposed to go straight to this canal and goes down there when we can still see other parts of the spine. But here it herniated, meaning it went off through one of these spaces right here. Through one of these spaces, it bulged out like this. So it bulged. So if you see here, it bulged out. So that is a herniated disc. I'm sorry, it's a herniated spinal cord. Herniated disc means that this disc moves. So that's what we call it, an impinged nerve right here. Because now this vertebrae on top is compressing over the nerve that is exposed. And any little movement is going to cause us pain. So that's how this is presented. That's how this medical term is interpreted and divided, and it is parts. So we have it right here on the bottom. Mening is the meninges, the membrane that protects the spinal cord and the brain. Myel is the spinal cord. Here we have two combining vowels because the words in between them ends and begins with a consonant. Ends and begins with a consonant. So we have to add a combining vowel. And we know already that the most common combining vowel is the letter O. So we use it O. Sil, which means herd. So this is a herniation of the meninges of the spinal cord. So this here, it just came out of the tract. They're supposed to be right there inside the tract, not bulging outside, because the next vertebrae up here on top is gonna kind of pinch, is gonna kind of compress, if you will, the spinal cord and cause pain. This is very painful. People can't even move. So that's an emergency situation. Needs to go to the medical, but to the emergency, get this done. Get this fixed. So that's basically what it is. So when we put all these parts together, we're gonna kind of understand. I love this picture because this picture really can tell you how things work. So this is hemiplegia, paraplegia, and quadriplegia. This explains how this damage to certain parts of the nerves, whether the brain or the spinal cord, can affect movement, can paralyze our body. So let's go over hemiplegia. It is divided on the lower part, but we're gonna do it here. So remember, hemiplegia. Ia is a condition. Plec is a paralysis. So this is word root. Hemi, it is the word root. Oh, I'm sorry, is the prefix, which means something that happens. Hemi, half. That's numbers. So this is a condition of paralysis of half of the body. So remember, it's right here. Half of the body, it is paralyzed. Side to side. So the right side, like crossing an imaginary line from the forehead or the back, passing half of the nose, half of the mouth, half of the face, half of the body, it is paralyzed because there is damage in one of the parts of the body. Very ironic, if someone has paralysis of the left side of the body, it's because the damage is in the right side. If it has paralysis of the left side of the body, the damage is on the right side. So vice versa. In this case, the paralysis is on the patient left side. So the problem is on the right side of the brain. So that is hemi or hemiplegia. Now let's do quadriplegia or paraplegia. Paraplegia, see, beyond certain area, besides certain area, alongside certain area. So here, this patient has damage to some parts of the spine right here. Not in the neck, not in the brain. Because if it was in the neck, the whole body will be paralyzed, then will be this. So it is in this part of the back. There is damage there of the nerve, the spinal cord nerve damage. So then the patient's paralyzes from the waist down. So that will be paraplegia. Beyond the waist, besides the waist. Now, quadriplegia, on the other hand, the damage is within the brain or the neck. So it was damage here, it was damage here. Anything else from the neck down is going to be paralyzed. Paralyzed. So that is basically what it is. Now, if you look at the definitions on the bottom, you can see that that is exactly what we divide this word in pieces, in parts. So let's go with the first one. Hemi or hemiplegia, half. Leg paralysis, ear condition. So this is a condition of paralysis of half of the body. Quadriplegia. Quad is 4, remember? 4.
Okay. Anything ke time system nas? Tamay kasi na.
Hello. Leg is paralysis. Ear is condition. Now, if you look here, quadri, we don't say quadriplegia. We said quadriplegia. So in this case, we have a vowel, which is letter I, being the combining vowel. But it's rarely see it. Rarely see it. I and E are combining vowels, but they rarely we see them because the most common combining vowel is O. So that's basically what it is. So anytime that you hear the word plegia, immediately you know that they are talking about paralysis. Paralysis. These terms are very common. Not much hemiplegia, the condition. There is hemiplegia, but some of the cases, not much. Hemiplegia happens to the patients who have stroke. And we know that stroke is very common, right? So half of the body paralyzes. It's not just half of the face, no. It is that part of the body on the left side or the right side that paralyzes, depending where's the damage. If the damage is on the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain will paralyze. So that's basically how it works. Now you might be asking yourself, what do you mean, Professor? I have damage to the right side of my brain, while the right side of the body will be affected. Well, it turns out that our body is a little tricky to understand. The nerves that comes from the brain, right here, the brain, we have oh, what am I doing? The nerves that comes from the brain, the right side in the neck moves to the left side. The left side nerves, the main nerves from the left side on the neck, they crosses and moves to the right side. So now you understand why, if I have damage to the right side of my brain, the left side will be affected and vice versa, because the nerves crosses within the neck. The right side of the brain nerve goes to the left side of the body, and the left side nerves goes to the right side of the body. So now you understand why this happens. It's not like, oh, there is something weird right there in our brain. No, this is how our body is built, is formed. Any questions? Good. See, that's what I was telling you, that the nervous system is very complex. It's one of the most complex systems. If I have to study a specialty, the last thing that I will think is becoming a neurologist, because it's very complicated. It is difficult to evaluate, to diagnose, so I don't think that I will become a neurologist. I'll do other things that are more practical. But yes, we need people who deals with the nervous system, and we have good neurologists. Let's continue with these medical terms. Aphasia. So IA is the suffix. Phas is a word root, means speech. A means no, without. So this will be a condition of no speech. So if someone has damage to certain nerves that produces speech, so then you're going to be able to speak, because it says without speech. So you're not going to be able to talk. That is a condition. And of course, exists. We have patients that are mute. We have patients that are deaf, completely deaf. Next, cephalalgia. Cephalalgia. Algia is the suffix, which means pain. Cephal means head. See, this is the word. Algia, pain in the head. Headache, the same as cephalgia. Cephalgia. Neuralgia. It's just different terms built from different word parts. We use neural, we use cepha, encepha, encephalgia. also we can have it because it's pain to the brain. But there are different situations. Remember, all depends of the context. What is it that we are talking about? What is it that we're trying to explain? What is it that we try to diagnose? What part of the body is being involved? It is being compromised. Cephalic, IC, is the suffix, which means pertaining to. Cephal is the word root, which means head, pertaining to the head. We are actually talking about something about the head, something. Maybe an organ that is within the head, the hair, the skull, the eyes, the nose, the brain, different parts of the brain within. So it's just a medical term explaining or kind of defining that something related to the brain. Dysphagia, IA, or IA, yeah, IA, the suffix of my body. Pus, the speech, remember? This, so this will be a word root, and this will be a prefix, this. Difficult, abnormal, painful. Well, a condition of an abnormal speech. Condition or a difficult speech. So in general, this is having difficulty talking, speaking. That's dysphagia. Remember, this means something abnormal, something difficult, something painful. But we don't say painful talk, speak. Oh, we have painful. That doesn't work for that. But we can say that you have an abnormal, when you speak abnormally. So your words do not come out correctly. You're like kind of stuttering. Some of the words we understand, some others we don't. So you have a difficulty speaking. So that's basically what it means. Or an abnormal speech. Difficult to understand. Hemiplegia, we talk about this. Remember, IA is the suffix, condition, plague is paralysis, which is word root, hemi, which is measurement, which is a prefix because it's half. So this is a condition of having half of my body paralysis, or half of something. So that's basically what it is. Hemiplegia, in this case, remember, half of the body is being paralyzed. One of the best samples is stroke. Person who suffers stroke has half of his or her body paralyzed. Here we have the word that I mentioned at the beginning, meningitis. So meningitis, itis, is the suffix, which means inflammation. Menin is the word root that means the membrane that protects the brain. So inflammation to the meninges, which is the membrane that protects the spinal cord or the brain. Remember that the spinal cord and the brain makes up the central nervous system. And because these are structures that are very soft, we need to protect them. So we need to put a cover on it, which is called meninges. That's basically what it is. Meningocele. Cele. Oh, cele is the suffix, which means hernia. O, the combining vowel. And mening is the membrane that protects the brain. It's not the brain, it's the membrane that protects it. It's called the meninges. When we get to anatomy and physiology, probably gonna discuss this in a little more detail because the meninges have other components. So this is a hernia to the membrane that protects the brain of the spinal cord. That's basically what it is. Okay. Any questions about any of these terms? Let's continue with this. Meningomyelocele. See the image that I presented first, it is a meningomyelocele, not just meningocele. So let's go back to that image. That right here is the entire thing that is out. I didn't want to mention any of those because here it says meningocele. Oh no, meningomyelocele. Never mind. I was like, oh, my brain is not working, I guess. Okay, so that was correct. So meningocele, we saw that already. So it is still, it's a suffix which means hernia. O is the combining vowel. Myel is the spinal cord. C. I remember it's a word root. O is another combining vowel. And mening is the word root that means the membrane. So this is a herniated, remember, the whole thing, the meninges and the spinal cord, because the meninges are attached to the spinal cord. So the whole thing is out of track, out of the spinal column. Very, very serious thing because it's very painful. You're not able to do anything. You actually kind of, they have to keep you under anesthesia so you don't have the pain. So for that reason, it needs to be surgically repaired. Myelogram. So here we have myelogram. Gram is a suffix which means, remember, recording or a image, radiographic image. O is a combining vowel. Myel is the spinal cord, which is a word root. This is a radiographic recording of the spinal cord. We are viewing, we have an image, a picture of the spinal cord, whether through a screen doing an MRI, a ultrasound, or CAT scan, because we are going to visualize the spinal cord. Gonna see it. So this is just the recording of that. We need to see the image. What's going on with these particular structures? We need to see if there is any issues with them so we can fix it. Here we have poliomyelitis, yeah. Poliomyelitis. Itis is a inflammation, which is the suffix. Myel is the spinal cord, which is a word root. Polio Polio in this case, remember, it's not poly, it's polio. L-I, not L-Y. This is something else. So O right here, oh my goodness, this is an O as the combining vowel. And poly, now we have, these are kind of some structures within the nerves. So that will be a word root as well. So you probably heard about polio. Just the little kids has been vaccinated. There is a vaccine for polio. That is a different issue. This is a condition of the nerves that can actually, they swell up and don't allow the child to develop the nervous system. And the child becomes, the legs mostly where this happens becomes very, very skinny. The muscles do not grow normally. Most of these kids probably die. That's poliomyelitis. That's why we have the vaccine for the newborns and for the infants that we give them so they can prevent this malformation, these issues with the nerves. So that's basically what it is. So this is a different polios, not the poly. This is poly with an I, not with an X. This is a word root. Okay, so here we have psychogenic. So let's talk about these medical terms. Some of the terms are new for us here. Some of them are not. So we can use genic, the complete word, or we can separate IC, gen, as a word root, O, as a combining vowel, and psych as word root. So we can use word root, genic, or we can use it as an adjective. Remember, some of the terms, we can make them, we can attach the suffix to a word root, so to give one meaning. So if we interpret this separating all these parts, it will be a condition pertaining to the generation of the mind. Remember, psych means mind. Or this is in general the generation of the mind, how the mind generates, how it is produced, so to speak. So that's basically what it's trying to tell you. Remember, medical terms are complicated. Some of them, we just give definitions that sometimes kind of do not make sense. But this is how the mind develops, how the mind generates. But if we use pertaining to the development of the mind, because we have another term for development. So that's why we don't use that here. So most of the time is how the mind is generated, produce, if you will. So that's basically what it is. Now, here we have a psychologist. These terms are very familiar, very common. We are very familiar with these terms. So logist is the specialist, which is the suffix, the specialist of what? Of the mind. Combining vowel, psych is mind. So the specialist of the mind. The medical professional that specialize in conditions of the mind. That's basically what it is. That's a psychologist. Remember, the psychologists do not diagnose the patient with the condition of the mind. They treat the condition of the mind. They just try to figure it out what's going on with your mind, not with the physical structure. That will be treated by the psychiatrist, which is different. So psychology, on the other hand, logy is the study of, which is the suffix. O is the combining vowel, psych is mind, word root. This is the sign that studies the mind. So my son's studying psychology. So he is going to become a psychologist. So he's majoring in psychology. It's the science that studies the mind. So that's basically what it is. Okay. Psychopathic. Psychopathy. Psychopathy. Pathy is the suffix O. Pathy means disease. Remember, O is the combining vowel. Psych is mind. This is disease of the mind. When someone has a condition of the mind, we call it psychopath, right? That's basically what it is. Or we said sociopath. But psychopath is someone who acts erratically. Their brain, they do not put things together. So they become psychopaths. Very dangerous because it's a state of mind in which something is not functioning normally within their brains, the way that they behave mostly. Not necessarily that the brain is not working, it's like they kind of twist all these ideas. Like rapists, people, killers, assassins, murderers. What is going on in your mind if you kill your family? That's gotta be something out of the mind, right? So that's basically what it is. Quadriplegia, we went through this already. So we can select plegia completely, or we can separate this ia, the suffix, pleg, paralysis, which is a word root, quadri, this is a prefix, which means some numbers, because we're talking about a condition that affects the four limbs. So this is paralysis to the four extremities, arms and legs, because the patient is paralyzed from the neck down. That is basically what we're trying to explain here. Okay. Any questions about these terms? Okay. You don't, let's move on. Okay, let's talk about some medical conditions related to the nervous system. Probably you heard about this, Alzheimer's disease, AD. Alzheimer's disease is a condition of the brain, loss of memory. This is not Parkinson's disease. This is loss of memory. It is someone who cannot remember who they are. So be careful with this. Alzheimer's, hydrocephalus, hydrocephalus. These are terms that we do not divide. This means that the patient has liquid within the brain, hydrocephalus. Now I can divide this term, but usually we don't divide it. Alzheimer's disease. Well, Alzheimer's is not a medical condition per se. Excuse me. Alzheimer was the medical doctor. He was the neurologist who discovered the loss of memory of his patients. So he gave his name. He used his last name as the medical condition so he can remember for discovering this condition. So that was Dr. Alzheimer's. It's not that the condition is called Alzheimer's, like diabetes, like arthritis. Hydrocephalus, once again, is liquid within the brain. There is some type of malfunction in parts of the structures of the brain that are leaking fluids inside the brain, and that liquid doesn't leave the brain and is not supposed to be there. So that causes pressure within the brain and you develop headaches. This liquid needs to be removed. Lumbar puncture. So lumbar puncture is nothing else that we are going to extract or deliver liquids, remove something from the spinal cord or inject something to the spinal cord. That's called lumbar puncture. In the next chapter, we're going to see an image of how this is done. This is not something that is done by a medical assistant, a nurse. This is done by a neurologist or a medical doctor that is a neurologist, but is also a surgical neurologist. It's very complicated. If you don't do this procedure correctly, you can paralyze the patient from the waist down forever. So very serious. Multiple sclerosis, MS. Multiple, as the word implies, means many. This is like poly. Sclerosis, this is a condition mostly of this lack of myelin. There is some substances with the neurons that allows the transmission of impulses through it. So when the spinal cord is not producing this myelin, the impulses cannot travel. Let's say these chargers that you have, if you break this metal that is inside these little cables, the electrical impulses are not going to pass. This is what's happening here. So within multiple sclerosis, if those electrical impulses are not passing through to certain muscles, to certain structures, those structures are going to be paralyzed because the nerves are cut off. So this condition, unfortunately, does not have cure. So eventually progresses, the muscles of the skin, the muscles of the lungs, the muscles of the heart start paralyzing until you die. So that's called multiple sclerosis. There are some medications to delay the process, but eventually the person will die of multiple sclerosis. Paraplegia, we talk about this. This is very common condition because if you have an injury to the spinal cord within the back, the lumbar region or something like that, you will be paralyzed from the waist down. Now we're going to talk about Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's disease is also a condition of damage to the nerves or to the nervous system. In this case, say Parkinson's, just like Alzheimer's, remember damage. Alzheimer's is loss of memory due to the damage to the nerves. Here is damage to the nerves that block the muscles from moving, paralyzes the muscle. So someone who has Parkinson's is going to have problems moving, walking. They do not walk like normal people. Instead of lifting the foot every single time that they are walking, they are kind of dragging, sliding the foot. They are shuffling. So they shuffle. So that's basically what it is, which is different from Alzheimer's. Parkinson's is not actually the disease. Parkinson's, once again, is the name of the medical doctor who discovered this condition on his patients. Alzheimer's was a medical doctor, was a male. Parkinson was a male. Remember, back in the days, females were not doctors, only males. So for that reason, most of these medical doctors that invented all these treatments, procedures, devices, they were medical doctors, they were males. So this is Parkinson, Dr. Parkinson's. Another condition that happens frequently in certain situations, seizures or convulsions. Someone who has seizures or convulsions, it is due to malfunctioning of the nerves within the brain. They kind of collide between each other and causing your muscles to twist and sometimes to make you lose consciousness. So that's basically what it is. So that can happen. That's called, remember, seizures. That can happen due to trauma. You have a trauma, damage on nerves, then you once in a while kind of lose consciousness and your muscles start twitching. There are many types of seizures, but we're not going to go into that because that's not what we're trying to say, but this is something that is related to this damage to the nerves in the brain. Little kids, when they develop this high fever and it's not controlled immediately, they can develop seizures, convulsions. That is due to high temperature within the brain, because it shouldn't be that high temperature in your brain, in your body. So they damage the nerves. So that is seizures. Stroke. Remember, stroke is the name that we know this condition, but this is actually CVA. CVA stands for cerebral vascular accident. Please keep it in mind because this is asked in national certification, what CVA stands for. What is a stroke? CVA. What is a cerebrovascular accident? Stroke or CVA. So that's important. Remember that is also a condition of nerves within the brain that are damaged and causes hemiplegia, half of the body to be paralyzed. Here we have another term, probably you never heard about this, subarachnoid hemorrhage. Well, hemorrhage is easy because that's bleeding, but this is bleeding to a layer of the brain, because the brain has layers, has walls. So the bleeding to some of these layers of actually the meninges can cause the damage. Because remember, the meninges are this membrane that protects the brain. So these meninges are divided in three: dura, subarachnoid, and pia mater. So all these damages, because it has blood vessels there, and when there is damage and there is bleeding, and these membranes have very little space in between, kind of, leaks through this blood, and that can cause the patient to die because there is bleeding within the meninges and causes high pressure within the brain and kills the patient. Those are conditions that, probably you never heard about it, but that's how it is. Transient ischemic attack, or TIA. So ischemic, we talk about ischemic. That means that it's lack of blood going to a particular organ. This is lack of blood going to the brain. But it is transient. Transient means that comes and goes. So transient means that you have it, but then for a little period of time, less than 24 hours, you have problems with delivery of blood and oxygen to the brain for a period less than 24 hours. If it is less than 24 hours, you develop an attack of the brain, but you don't develop stroke. Because in order for you to develop stroke, you have to have lack of blood for more than 24 hours. This is a lack of blood going to the brain, lack of oxygen, nutrients, but for a period of less than 24 hours. That's basically what it is. Now you have to know this. No, you won't be asked about this, but the medical terminology book has these terms, and sometimes, well, I have to explain what is it, not just because the term itself, I can read it, you can read it better than me. But if I said a transient ischemic attack, I have to tell you what is it. What is subarachnoid hemorrhage? Because it's there. You need to understand it because these are medical terms that cannot be divided. But still, you need to know the definition so you can understand this. Because sometimes patients present with this pre-heart attack. Well, pre-heart attack is a transient ischemic attack. They are not having heart attack. They are getting into. So if the blood flow is not restored, then they can go into heart attack or into a stroke, whatever the case may be, whether it's to the heart that is not enough blood or to the brain. That's how it is. This is the lumbar puncture. Usually it's more commonly known as spinal tap. So what the medical doctor does, the neurologist or the surgical neurologist, is whether they're going to apply here something, they're going to deliver some medications, or they're going to remove the synovial fluid, the spinal fluid. So what they do is in between the vertebrae, they put a needle and then reach the spine and they remove some fluid, or they deliver some medications, like females who are not able to deliver the baby normally. So they have to give you an epidural. That's another name, an epidural, so they can relax the uterus and the baby can be removed, whether to C-section or other means, but mostly for C-section, or to relax their body so they can deliver the baby naturally, because it's very painful and the female cannot push any further. Or to remove liquid from the spinal cord again, to diagnose the patient with meningitis, because the bacteria grows in this cerebrospinal fluid. So that might be some of the cases. So once again, it can be to deliver medications or remove the synovial fluid. the cerebrospinal fluid. I always mix them up. So we talk about these conditions. Here we have the acronyms. Remember, for the nervous system, we talk about them. AD, Alzheimer's disease. CSF, this is the cerebral spinal fluid that I just mentioned, that it is within the spinal cord. CVA, which is cerebral vascular accident. CNA, which stands for central nervous system. LP or lumbar puncture or epidural or spinal tap, that means lumbar puncture. MS, multiple sclerosis. PD, Parkinson's disease. PNS, the peripheral nervous system. TIA or TIA, the transient ischemic attack. So these are acronyms. So particularly CVA, AD, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. Well, you might be seeing this within your practice, wherever you are going to work. So it is a good thing to have an idea when the patient goes there and is having some issues with the nervous system, some of these things you might encounter in that office. So that's basically what it is. Let's see if you can solve these pretest questions. Inflammation of many joints. Once again, just send me the answer through the chat. A, B, or C. Remember, things that you have to look for every single time that you answer a test is inflammation and many joints. And then you will have the correct answer. A, B, or C. Remember, give it a try, even though if you're not sure, just giving it a try, you can learn the terms. See, sometimes we make little mistakes and we learn from that. Well, hopefully, right? Anyone else? Okay. It doesn't matter, again, just give it a try, give it a try. Okay, so let's solve it. So it says right here, inflammation. There are two of them has inflammation, iris and iris. That means that this one doesn't apply. B doesn't apply because it's inflammation. That's the first thing that you have to look for. Many joints. Okay, it says right here, polyneuritis. Oh, wait a minute, it says many nerves. This is not the one either. So what is the correct answer? A. Polyarthritis. Joints means arthur. Arthritis is inflammation of the joints. But if you have poly, it's many joints. So that's how you have to solve these, define these terms, if you will. Next, condition of paralysis of 4 limbs. So what are you gonna look for? Paralysis, 4 limbs. A, B, or C. Okay. So anyone else? I'm gonna give it a try. All right, let's solve it then. Like I said right here, paralysis. Okay, so which words have paralysis within? Oh, what is this right here? Oh, right here. Okay, so paralysis, right here, plegia and plegia. This has paralysis. It says right here, hemi, only half. This is iris. This has nothing to do with what being asked. Quadri means four. So right there, quadriplegia. Don't worry about the limbs. It's paralysis of four limbs. So quadriplegia. That is it. Simple. Sometimes you don't have to meet every single word that is being given to you. Sometimes certain terms have a lot of distractors. That's what it's called. They put a lot of stuff right there just to distract you a little bit. But then you just pick up the ones that really make sense. Number 3, suture of a nerve. So think about this, suture and nerves. That's it. Then you have it. Let's see, A, B, or C. Remember, process of elimination. I use it a lot. Any functions. Okay, let's solve this. So let's change this. So suture. We know that AL, AL is pertaining to. So it doesn't work because all of them has neuro. For that, right, doesn't work. We have to look for something else. We have to look for the suffix, not for the word. So if I said AL, doesn't work. If I said asthenia, it doesn't work either. Asthenia means like numbing. When you numb the nerves, remember, it comes from anesthesia. Raphi. Raphi means to suture. And what are we suturing? Nerves. Raphi means to suture. So suturing the nerves. That's basically how this works. So little by little, these are not easy terms, particularly remember Raphi. Some of the terms are easier because we repeat it a lot and because we hear them a lot. Some of them, not so much. Condition of without speaking. Remember, condition without speaking. So we're going to look for condition and without speaking. A, B, or C. So pay attention to the details. Okay. So let's try. So without speaking, that is the key, without. So if we see right here, all of them has fascia, fascia, fascia. So this does not mean without or no or absence. This was not, doesn't. Fascia means to swallow. So that has nothing to do. Fascia means speaking. A means no without. Think about anemia without blood. Well, it's not that it's without blood, but that's the term that how it's being defined. Aphasia means without speaking. Patient cannot talk. The patient is mute. Okay? So once again, pain in the head. Pain in the head. Be careful with these terms because remember we can use it depends of the context. Pain and head. A, B, or C. Okay. One more. So if we will look at the suffix pain, algia, algia, and algia, it doesn't solve anything. So we have to start with the word root, head. So my is muscle. Nur is nerve. Cephal. See, just by the process of elimination, you can do this with no pain. Cephal means head. So that's basically what it is. Remember, it's not asking about headache. This is pain in the head. Cephal means head, algia means pain. You just put it together. That is it. That's how you're gonna solve all these medical terms. So when you hear them, you put all the parts that you're familiar with and the ones that you're not familiar with, then look at it. Okay, so let's stop, let's take a break, and then we finish it up with the other one. We come back at 7:20. Remember, 7:20, we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna continue with the other chapter that is very short, and that's it. We're done for today and for the module. Okay, get some rest. 7:20, we're gonna be back.
Okay,
Okay.
Professor, this is
Oh,
Yuan again, just reminding
Okay,
you about the
stay,
email.
stay there because I'm gonna send it to you right now, okay? Give me a second. See, Juan, I have already forgotten about it. See?
Really?
Yeah, because listen, I'm
Uh,
doing all this
yeah.
and my brain is
Understand,
not,
understand.
my brain
Yeah.
is not that young like yours, okay?
No, no.
And I'm being caught up right here and trying to explain all this done already. See, if I have not told you done to remind me,
Yeah.
I will be like, oops. Later on, you will say, hey, you're responsible. You didn't tell me how it was.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so let me give you your, what is it? What is it? Send chapters. This is the exam. Okay. What is your email?
Okay, so my email is MEL.
Okay, no, I was just looking in the ones that I sent,
Uh-huh.
and I don't have it. So now I know why.
Mhm.
Okay. M
MEL REECE
MELR
EECE
mm-hmm.
CE
PE.
CE, C as in cat, E as in elephant. So it's the last
Oh,
name, Reese. So it's MELRE.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Put it in the chat.
Okay. All right. Let me
Yeah,
put it.
because I don't want to
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
make.
All right. Let me do that right now.
Yeah. Send it right there, and I will be forwarding this right now.
Okay, here it is.
Is that Reese? How you pronounce it?
No, just Reese.
Oh, Reese. Okay.
Yes, Reese. REECE. Yes.
Yeah. No, I have it. It's just
Yeah.
that I need to know how to pronounce
Yeah.
things because
And the first name
names
is
are so difficult sometimes from different
yes.
countries.
Yeah. And the first name is just Ioana, which is pretty short.
Mhm.
Ioana.
Okay. Uh-huh. I knew something was wrong right here. Okay, so go take your break and you check it out a little later on. And when you come back from break, says, Professor, I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Go, yeah, go
Thank you.
use your break.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay. So we're back. So we're gonna continue with this chapter. Let me see. Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yeah, teacher.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna finish early today because today is the last day of the module. So you're gonna have time to go and complete your exam for those who have not completed. Remember, you have until tomorrow. So take your time, do it right. Later on, after I finish the chapter, I'm gonna be sending you the materials for the lectures for the next module, which is anatomy and physiology. Remember that. So once again, if for any reason you guys don't receive any of the materials that I have sent out, please let me know. And I will be more than glad to assist you with that. Okay, so let's continue with the endocrine system. Here we start with medical terms again. Endocrine means, so let's divide this word, endocrine. Crine means secretions. O is the combining vowel. This is the adjective, but it's also the word root and the suffix. But we're not going to divide it because this is a little difficult to be divided. Because here it will be like E and cream. So we don't want to do that because it doesn't sound, looks good. Usually we don't do it. So we just leave the whole thing there. The suffix as an adjective with endo. Oh my bad, this is not right. I'm bugging right here with these terms. Okay, endocrine. So crine is the suffix and the word root. Endo is the prefix, is the whole thing. The prefix endo means within, inside. So these are secretions within the body. So it's very difficult to say just secretions within the body. No, these are secretions that are produced inside the organs. It moves around the organ, does not leave the particular organ that produces it. That's basically what it's called endocrine. If it leaves, it's because it goes somewhere else to do some work, but it is produced within this area and then it's being sent somewhere else. These secretions usually that are produced by these glands, that is the endocrine glands, generally are called hormones. We hear about hormones. So hormones are produced by these endocrine glands. Remember, something that is produced within the body. They don't go outside the body. Because we have exocrine glands. What are those exocrine glands? Glands that produce something that goes outside the body, like the sudoriferous glands, the sweat glands. The sweat is produced inside, but then comes out. So those things are different because they are outside. So we produce things that they move outside of the body. Others stays within the body. If it stays within the body, it's called endocrine. If it goes outside the body, it's called exocrine. So that's basically what it is. So let's see what is the function of the endocrine system. So these are the glands that makes up the endocrine system. We have the pituitary gland. We will discuss that when we get to anatomy and physiology, which is the master gland. This is the gland that controls all the glands of our body. So if you see the pituitary gland is right here, in the brain, and it controls the thyroid gland, controls the thymus gland, controls the kidneys, controls the pancreas. Those are glands. Controls the female's reproductive system, the ovaries, controls the male reproductive system, which are the testicles. Why? What is it that they produce? Remember, they produce hormones. Females produces estrogen. Males produces testosterone. So the thymus gland produces the thymus hormone. The kidneys produces epinephrine, norepinephrine. So we have the pancreas. What the pancreas produces? Insulin. See how important it is? And all these secretions are going to be within the body. They don't leave the body. We don't send estrogen outside. We don't send progesterone outside. We don't say, oh, we have the thyroid gland. We don't say the thyroid hormone outside the body. No, we send it to certain organs to do certain functions. So that is the endocrine system. Has all these organs. They are organs that produce hormones. Those are endocrine. Because the ones that do not produce hormones, they are organs, but produce something that goes outside the body. So that's basically what we need to understand by endocrine. Remember, endocrine within the body. These secretions are distributed inside the body. They don't go outside. So let's see what are some of the functions of the endocrine system. So here we're going to see regulates body activities. Yeah. The estrogen and the progesterone regulates the female's physical characteristics. That's what you look like female. You develop breasts. Your hips are wider than the males. You don't develop facial or hair or body hair. So you don't have hair in your body. Males do. So those are things that they do. So for the male, it has other hormones. So testosterone also give the physical characteristics of males that differs from the females. That's what we identify. Oh, this is a female, this is a male, because the way how we look. So that's basically what it is. We're going to have some hormones that are going to be sent to the digestive system to help with metabolism, how the nutrients are going to be processed. So those are functions that these hormones start regulating. It says right there, secrete hormones. These are the major secretions that they produce, hormones. So we need to be familiar with all these different hormones. Influences growth, development, and metabolism. Metabolism has to do with all the nutrients, how they are metabolized, how are they converted from food, from solids that we put in our mouth, but they go to our stomach, and then how they enter the blood system. We don't have a piece of meat going through the blood flow. No. We have these secretions that are already being metabolized, little pieces that we cannot see as the nutrients. It removes, which is cholesterol, it removes sugar, it removes sodium, potassium, magnesium, whatever we have eaten within the food. And now those little particles are going to go to the blood system. Influences in growth. of course, we have a hormone that make us grow from the fetus to an adult. And then, all these stages that we go through life. Some people are taller than others. So that has to do with the growth hormone, how our body develops from the moment of conception to the moment that we develop completely a body with all of these organs. And development, once again, all the features that we have as males, as females. So that is the major functions of the body, or the endocrine system. So again, remember we talk about the functions of the nervous system. They control different things. This regulates different things, secretions. Then it's going to be helping us with other types of functions in our body. So we're going to start with those word roots related to those organs, to those glands, to those hormones, procedures, conditions of these endocrine structures, medical specialties. That's how we are going to start with. Adrenal. Adrenal is a gland. It comes from gland. Adrenal means gland. Usually we put an O right here, adrenal. This means gland. Cream, we mentioned it already. This means secretions. So usually endocrine. Remember, we talk about that. Tips. This means thirst, meaning you are thirsty. We're gonna talk about why do we use these terms. Glyc, this means glucose. Glucose because we have the hormone insulin that is going to deal with sugar when it enters our body. Thyme, this comes from the thymus gland. Thyroid, from the thyroid gland. So different terms related to the organs and to what they produce. Remember, some of them easy to remember, some of them not so much. This because it means thirst, someone who becomes thirsty. Well, if you have certain conditions of glucose, you might become very thirsty. You might be drinking liquids all the time. So later on, we're going to put this together with new suffixes and prefixes, and we're going to give the appropriate meaning to these terms. Suffix, we're going to add one more, ism. Ism means state or condition. Hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism. See, we have conditions that ends in ism. This is a state of a condition of. So someone who develop a condition about having too much or too little of this particular hormone. So we're going to move on and we're going to start putting this together. Again, very important to understand these terms because these terms are, some of them are very commonly used. Let's talk about acromegaly. Acromegaly. We covered all these terms already. Megaly is the suffix, which means enlargement, something larger than normal. Enlargement. O is a combining vowel. Acre, usually said acro, but because we divided is acre. This is a word root, which means extremities. Extremities. So what is acromegaly? Enlargement of the extremities. Enlargement of the extremities. So someone who has long fingers, longer than normal, longer arms, longer legs or toes, then we call it acromegaly. So once again, when we enter into anatomy and physiology, we explain the functioning of these glands that makes your body change, go disproportionately larger than normal. And what happens when we have someone who's very short or a dwarf, then we're going to have problems with these hormones of growth. So that's basically what it is. So that's the reason why we learn all this. Adenoma. So aden, remember, and oma. We saw already oma, we covered oma. So this is the suffix which means tumor. Aden means gland, which is the word root because it's part of the body. This is a tumor of the gland. So this is a gland tumor. Remember, just because the gland has a tumor does not imply that this person has cancer or that this gland is cancerous. That is not 100% true. It might not be. Remember, tumors are of two types, benign and malignant. So in order for us to determine, to diagnose the patient or to confirm that the patient has cancer, we have to do a biopsy. Remove a piece of tissue from this particular gland, send it to pathology. The pathologist is going to evaluate that tissue, and if he or she encounters cancerous cells, now we know there is a malignant tumor. That's basically what it is. Adenomegaly. Megaly, once again, is the suffix which means enlargement. Aden, O, is the combining vowel. Aden is the gland, which is the word root. This is enlargement of a gland, the adrenal gland. So here, remember, it was a tumor of the adrenal gland. This is an enlargement. So these glands, whichever the gland is, has become larger than normal. Now remember, having something larger than normal is not good. So having something smaller than normal is not good. We have to have certain size depending on the organ. They have to certain size for the organ depending of the person, the size of the person. So we cannot have organs that are too large because that is not normal. Here we have adenosis. Osis is the suffix, which means an abnormal condition. Aden means gland, which is the word root, because it's part of the body. That's what we're talking about. Remember that word roots are the main part of a medical term, the foundation of the medical term. So this is an abnormal condition of a gland. So the gland presents with something. Something is not right. So we have an abnormal condition of the gland. We are not saying definite, which is that this gland has, but we know that something is going on with this gland. There is something going on. So it's not normal. Next, we're gonna have adrenalectomy. Now, ectomy is the suffix which means surgical removal. Remember, surgical removal. Adrenal, this is one of these glands that is called the adrenal gland. There is a gland that is called adrenal gland. They are located on top of each kidney. Each kidney has one little gland on top of them. And these are the glands that produces epinephrine and norepinephrine. So once again, anatomy and physiology, well, we cover those glands and mention the hormones that they produce and what is it that they do, what is the function of them. So this is nothing else than, remember, the adrenal gland, which is the word root, because this is a word part. This is the surgical removal of the adrenal gland. That is it. Adrenal iris. Iris is the suffix which means inflammation. Adrenal is one of the glands called the adrenal glands. This is the word root. This is inflammation to the adrenal gland. That's basically what it is. So as we continue and familiarize with these terms, then you're gonna get a better understanding. But for now, it's just putting all these parts together so we know the definition of each term. Adrenalopathy. So pathy is the suffix which means disease. O is the combining vowel. Adrenal is the gland, the adrenal gland. So this is disease to the adrenal gland. So the adrenal gland has some type of disease. We not specifically telling you what is it. We just say that has a disease. This is like when you go to the medical doctor says, oh, I'm sick. Yeah, but what is it? Oh, the doctor has to figure it out, right? Start doing examinations, ordering some tests. Then we put everything together, and then with the questions that we ask, the tests that we order, then we have a conclusion. Well, sometimes. And then we know what it is. Here, it's just that has a disease. The gland has a disease, but we don't know exactly what it is. It's in general. That's basically what it is. Okay, so we have again endocrine. Remember that we can remove, we can break down E, crine, endo is the whole thing. But there's no need. We can put this as a suffix, word root, and a prefix. Crine is, remember, secretions, and this is endo. E means pertaining to the secretions within. So pertaining to those internal secretions, that's basically what it's talking about. Internal secretions. So we don't say when we talk pertaining to, oh, it is condition of. No, we said internal secretions, that's it. But for us to understand and use these terms correctly, we need to know each part of the medical term, what it means. And we have to state it. We just have to look for words when we are defining these terms that make sense. Other than that would sound kind of weird, right? Endocrinologist. Zoologist is the suffix, which is the medical doctor, the person who specializes. O is a combining vowel. Endocrine, crine is secretions, is a word root. Endo is the prefix. This is the specialist who treats conditions of the internal secretions. So this is the specialist who deals with internal secretions. So in general, it's not, that's not how we actually say it. We translate it and literally right here. But actually what it means, a endocrinologist is the specialist of the internal organs. But most of these organs, they produce hormones, which are the ones that we saw when first we introduced this chapter. So if we really wanted to mention this, but crine is not organs, it's secretion. And who secretes those? The organs. But an endocrinologist means this is the specialist who treats the internal organs. That's basically what it is. So we have to do a little kind of shifting to accommodate wording that can be understood clearly. Other than that, people sometimes might not be able to understand us. Can you imagine talking to someone who didn't study medical terminology and you're gonna say, oh, I'm the specialist of the secretion, the internal secretions, okay? I'm gonna be like, what do you mean internal secretions? I have no idea what is that. No, I'm the one who's gonna be dealing with your kidneys, with not including the heart, with your kidneys, your liver, your pancreas. Those are the things. The thyroid gland, the thymus gland, the testicles, and the ovaries. But we not have to explain all this. We just go over the things that pertains to whatever the patient is having at that time. So that's basically how it works. Endocrinology. Remember, logy is the suffix, which means the science that studies of, and o is the combining vowel. Endo is the prefix, crine is secretion. Remember, secretion, we cannot change this for glands. No, this is what it is produced by the glands. But in certain cases, we have to kind of shift it around so we can give a better understanding, better definition to the terms. This is the science that studies the internal organs. Science that study the internal organs. That's basically what it is. So let's say that you have diabetes. Your doctor, your primary care physician just diagnosed you with diabetes, right? So the next step, what's gonna be? This is your general practitioner. He's going to refer you to an endocrinologist. Why? Because your pancreas, which is the gland that produces insulin, an endocrinologist is the one that is going to deal with that. But this is the science. So if I'm going to become an endocrinologist, I have to attend endocrinology studies. So that's basically what is important, because we need to understand where to refer our patients depending on what is it that we encounter that they have. So if you have someone who have problem with the heart, that is an internal organ, but the heart doesn't secrete no hormones. So therefore, we're not gonna send it to the endocrinologist. This has their own specialty, cardiologist. So we need to understand all these terms so we can kind of, understand conditions, understand specialties, understand fields of study, like endocrinology, cardiology. We continue. Hyperglycemia. Probably you heard about this. This is nothing else than having your levels of glucose high. So we're gonna have here EA, EM, glycet, and hyper. This is the suffix, this is a word root, this is a word root, and this is a prefix. EA means a condition, EM means blood, glyc means glucose, hyper means increase. So this is a condition of having an increased glucose in your blood. Can that be diabetes? No, not necessarily. In order for me to be diagnosed with diabetes is because I'm already having levels of glucose higher for a period of time and it doesn't go down. If I do collect your blood after you eat McDonald's, I'm sorry, do you eat Dunkin' Donuts? If you eat all these donuts, or if you eat something that is very sweet, ice cream, and I collect your blood sugar is gonna be off the roof. Is that means that you're diabetic? No, your glucose has not been processed yet. And I did a test after you ate something sweet. Remember, patients that we want to do blood sugar levels, usually we want them to be fasting. What is fasting? They should not have anything 8 to 12 hours prior, anything to eat 8 to 12 hours prior to the exam, because we don't want the meals, the foods, the things that you eat to interfere with the real values of your blood glucose. That's why we want you to be fasting. So hyperglycemia is nothing else than high levels of glucose in your blood. Not necessarily means diabetes, because then we will call it diabetes. Okay, so hyperthyroidism. Ism is the suffix which means condition, state of a condition. Thyroid, remember, this means word root, which is the thyroid gland. Hyper means a prefix, which means increase. So this is a condition of having too much thyroid hormone. So your thyroid hormone is increased, it's producing too much. Now you develop hyperthyroidism, which is a condition. It's like hyperglycemia. It's a condition of having too much glucose. Now we need to know whether it is because you're eating too much sugars or you have a problem with your pancreas. Here, definitely, if you hyperthyroidism, because hormones, thyroid hormones, we don't drink that. Glucose, yes, because many things that we eat in our diet contains glucose, but the things that we eat do not contain the thyroid gland hormone. So for that reason, this is a condition. That's why hyperglycemia, we don't put it as a stale condition. This is a stale condition because you already have some problem. Here, it might be that you're eating too much sugar, not necessarily that you are diabetic. So keep that in mind. This is like a tumor. It might be benign, it might be malignant. So if it's not proven otherwise, we cannot call it cancer. Hypoglycemia. This is the opposite to hyperglycemia. So EA is the suffix, EM is a word root, glyc is a word root, hypo is a prefix. So this is a condition of having low glucose in your blood. So low levels of glucose in your blood. That's it. That's how we talk. That's how we normally talk. But to translate, to define these medical terms, we have to use all the terms that are there, that are available. But that makes sense. But then we fix it up. Then we say things the right way. Here we just breaking down these terms and calling each term for who they are. Hypothyroidism. This is the opposite to hyperthyroidism. See, this is the opposite. And hypoglycemia is the opposite of hyperglycemia. So hypothyroidism is the suffix. Thyroid is the word root. Hypo is the prefix. So this is a state of condition of having low amounts of the thyroid hormone. So state of condition of low thyroid hormone. Hyper, we have too much. Hypo, you have too little. Remember, in our body, everything has to be balanced. We should not have too much of too little of something, regardless of what it is. Then it doesn't function the body like that. Something is going on. Polydipsia. See, here we're gonna use dips because this is very important. So polydipsia, oh my God, this is the mouse. Ia is the suffix, condition, dips. Remember, it's a word root because this means thirst. Poly is a lot, too much, not many. You don't say it's a condition of many thirst. No, we said the patient is very thirsty. But here is excessively thirsty. So it's drinking water, it wants more water. It's drinking and drinking and drinking. Why? Because he has a condition which make the patient very thirsty. That's what it's called polydipsia. Polydipsia. There's one condition that's called diabetes insipidus. Yeah, you know diabetes, but this is another type of diabetes that doesn't have to do with anything with sugar. But once again, these are just terms. If someone feels like they want to be drinking, like they feel very thirsty often, and you have to be drinking and drinking liquids, they have a condition that is called polydipsia. Because something else, they has an underlying condition, so to speak. Polyuria. Okay, so think about this. Poly, ia is the suffix. Ur is the word root. Poly is a prefix. Ia is a condition. Ur is urine. Poly, a lot. Much. So this is a patient that is urinating a lot. Anytime that the patient goes to the bathroom, pees a lot. Why? Because it's drinking lots of fluids all the time, because it's very thirsty. And the body cannot keep all the drinks that you have. So if something is making you drink a lot, it's because you probably have lots of sugar. Remember, what happens when we eat something that is very salty? We become thirsty. What happens when we eat something or drink something that is very sweet? We become thirsty. So you want to put more liquids inside, but this is conditions that you have. So that make you drink lots of fluids. Because I know some of you drink fluids because you heard that the water is good, right? The more you drink, that's false. Water is good, but only according to the activity levels that you have. If you are sitting like me right here, just moving my lips and my tongue, how much energy I'm consuming? I'm not sweating. I'm not doing anything. My muscles are right here, not moving, at rest. So I don't need to be drinking too much water. I need to drink certain amount of water to keep my body, my blood volume balance. But what happens when you drink lots of water because you heard that water is good? Well, you go to the bathroom all the time, often. Well, that means that water is not being retained in your body. So that means that it's not good drinking too much water. So polyuria is when you are peeing a lot. Not that you go many times to the bathroom. That's not what I meant. It's that when you go, you pee, lots of urine comes out. So you have a condition. Probably your kidneys are not filtering correctly. Your kidneys aren't allowing to pass all the urine, all the liquids they're not supposed to be passing out. It's not retaining the fluids. It might be an imbalance of the diuretic hormone. There is a hormone that is called the antidiuretic hormone, means it's the hormone that retains the fluid that we need for our body to function. And if that hormone is not there or you don't have enough, most of the liquids are going to pass down as urine. So that is a condition. And that's when you develop polyuria. You don't need to know these conditions. You just need the explanation of why you peeing a lot, or you drinking a lot of fluids, or you have a condition where certain hormones are not retaining enough urine within our body, enough water, fluids. Next, thymectomy. Thymectomy. So thymectomy, ectomy is the suffix. Surgical removal. Excision. Remember, excision of something is removing. X. Thyme is a word root, which is the thymus gland. So this is a surgical excision of the thymus gland. We are removing the gland. Next, hyoma. Oma is the suffix, means tumor. Thyme is the word root. Thyme, tumor of the thymus gland. So remember, we have a gland that is located in the chest area. That is the thymus. And if it has tumor within, then we call it a thymoma. So anytime that you see oma, you know already that it means that there is a tumor. Except for Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma is not a tumor. That's a state, and I believe it's a town, something like that. But that's not what we're talking about. Thyroidectomy. Thyroidectomy. Ectomy again is the suffix surgical removal. Thyroid is a gland, which is the word root, surgical excision of the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland has been removed or is going to be removed surgically. That is basically what this means. So when we put all these word parts together, we're gonna define the medical term. So we're gonna be able to understand how this works. Thyroiditis, itis is the suffix, inflammation, thyroid is the gland, is the word root, inflammation of the thyroid gland. Inflammation. When something is inflamed, it's not the same as enlarge. Enlarge is damage to something inside. Inflammation is an infection. Inflammation is an infection. So it's totally different, enlargement or inflammation. If a patient has a prostatitis, that means that the prostate gland is swollen, is larger, but due to an infection. But if the patient has prostate that's a different issue. It's not that it's swollen, it is that the muscles overgrowth. So it make it look larger. Think about this. Think about someone who lifts weights. If I lift weights, my muscles are going to overdevelop. See these people who lift weights, who goes to the gym, the muscles are overgrowth. That's enlargement. That's not swelling. Now, swelling is because you have trauma, you fall, then you kind of injure some muscles there, or because you have an infection. So that is the difference between swelling and enlargement. So when I said iris, most definitely think that there is an infection there. But if I said megaly, no infection. The organ by itself overgrow their muscle. So that's not good. Cardiomegaly. Oh, the heart is too large. Not good. The muscle overgrowth. Not swell. It's not swelling. What happened? Okay, getting into this. Let's talk about these medical terms that are not built from medical parts. Addison's disease. So here we go again with the names. Addison is the name of the doctor, Dr. Addison. He discovered this condition and he gave his name. This is deficiency of the cortisol and aldosterone. These are hormones produced by the adrenal glands. We're not going to go into details, but if this person has problems with the adrenal glands do not produce enough aldosterone, not produce enough cortisol, then, and is not treated with aldosterone or cortisol, synthetic cortisol with pills or something like that, this person is going to develop Addison disease. What happened to someone who has Addison disease? Is very, very skinny, will never gain weight. It looks like the skin is attached to the bones. That is Addison disease. It's not a bulimic person. It's not someone who doesn't eat because they want to lose weight. We're not talking about this. This is a condition of the glands. It's not secreting enough of these two hormones. That's Addison's disease. Diabetes mellitus. Remember, you can say diabetes mellitus, diabetes mellitus. It doesn't matter. It can be pronounced either way. That is DM. Diabetes mellitus is the name, is an increase. It's like you have too much glucose in your blood because your pancreas, the one that produces insulin, the one that regulates the amount of insulin that enters our bloodstream and our cells, It's not there. It's not enough, or you don't have it. That's what it causes diabetes. Excess of increase of glucose within the blood. Remember that we have cells that if we have too much of it, there are some cells that remove the excess. But in this case, it is overwhelming the amount of glucose that enters our body. Then the amount of hormones that you have there is not able to cope, to deal with so much work. Therefore, the glucose keeps accumulated in your blood system. There is another trend that is related, and you're going to be using as a medical assistant. You're going to have, listen, tons of diabetic patients coming to your office. So you might have to do the finger stick. So fasting blood glucose is this one. So you can do fasting glucose, drawing blood from the vein, or you can collect blood from finger stick. So that is fasting blood glucose. Fasting, remember, you have to be fasting prior to do the test. So usually the doctor says, do finger blood sugar. See, this can be interpreted, this acronym, finger blood sugar, or fasting blood sugar. So the doctor is going to tell it to you, do a finger stick. Ah, okay, now I know that I have to poke you in the, get a little drop of blood, put in a little strip inside a little machine, and that's going to give you the reading of how your levels of glucose are at a particular time. But if it is fasting blood sugar that has to be collected from the veins, then the patient has to be fasting 8 to 12 hours prior to the test. You should not have anything to eat or drink that contains sweets. The only thing that you can drink, water. Anything else, you should not have. Oh, I have coffee, I have tea, I have nothing. You should have nothing before the test for a period 8 to 12 hours. Okay, goiter. Probably you heard about goiter. Maybe you didn't. Goiter, this is a enlargement of the thyroid gland. When you see someone has like a bulging right here on the neck, a big bulging right there, that is called goiter. So when you see someone that has that, this person has problems with deficiency of the thyroid hormone. This person hasn't taken within the meals or the foods or whatever they use as a diet, they have deficiency of iodine, because iodine is this chemical that helps the thyroid hormone to produce the thyroid gland to produce the thyroid hormone. So if you come from a country when they are lacking having iodine within the table salt, because the salt or table salt or salt, the one that we use to eat, to put in our foods, that contains iodine. Some of the countries, they don't have iodine. They are sometimes so poor, and then lack of iodine causes the patient to have deficiency of the thyroid hormone, and they develop goiter. Remember, goiter is that bulging on the neck. The thyroid gland enlarges, not swollen because it's not an infection. It works so hard to produce the hormone that what it does is the muscle becomes larger, just like the guys who lift weights. And that's why you see that bulging over there. Graves' disease, on the other hand, Graves' disease is the opposite. The thyroid gland is producing too much thyroid hormone. That's not good. Now the patient has these bulging eyes. The eyes protrude. You're going to see the person like scared. You see the eyes bulging out like a little cartoons. When you see someone that the eyes are bulging out, it has like a big eyes, thing like that bulging out, and they don't go back, they don't go down. They have Graves' disease. They are producing too much of the thyroid hormone. See, that's what we do. That's what we see outside. We check people. Well, we don't stare at them, but we look at them and says, "Oh, this person probably has this. Right. I'm seeing this. Probably this is what the patient has." That's what we do all the time when we study medicine. Because now we are checking people and see if they have the thing that we learning. And we encounter some of them. In this country, we have people, but not from this country, people who have come from different countries, particularly undeveloped countries when their diet is really bad on iodine, then they have this problem. So that's basically what it is. Okay. Abbreviations. Very simple. DM, diabetes mellitus or mellitus, fasting blood sugar or finger blood sugar. Remember, we can do either or. So you just need to understand what exactly the doctor wants you to do. Remember, you as a phlebotomist, you're going to be doing that, the finger stick. And if the doctor says, "Oh, do fasting," you know already that this is not a finger stick. But the doctor is going to tell you, do finger stick. Or they give you the requisition form and there it has blood sugar. And it's a fasting one. So just read the instructions and you will be fine. Any questions? Okay, I told you this was a very short chapter. Pretest. The abbreviation for the medical term referring to a chronic disease involving a disorder of carbohydrates metabolism. Remember, this is an acronym or whatever you want to call abbreviation. It's not an abbreviation, it's an acronym. Disease involving a disorder of carbohydrate metabolism. Let's see if you guys get it. A, B, C, or D. Let's see. It's not that simple. The condition is very common, but it's the wording, the one that can throw you off. Okay, A, B, C, or D. Give it a try. Okay, here's the key. I already highlighted carbohydrates. That is the key. Give it a try. Okay, so what are carbohydrates? Anybody knows? You can tell me. You don't need to write it down. Just tell me. What is carbohydrates? Anybody? Or are you guys so shy? Shouldn't be so shy. What is a carbohydrate? Sugars, guys, sugars. A carbohydrate. And what is the condition, the chronic condition that is related to sugar? DM, diabetes mellitus. Nothing else. This is a condition, and it's telling you chronic disease, diabetes mellitus. Okay, moving on. So it's a lot of wording, but only one word is the key. The suffix ism means what? So A, B, C, or D? Ism. Come on, guys. It's the last day. Let's put anything in there. Okay. Okay, SM. So if we said inflammation, no. Abnormal state, no. Whether you can call it condition of or state of. So these two can qualify, but the most accurate is D, state of. Because remember, condition of can be IA most of the time. So state of, it is a condition, but it's a state of a disease. Not so simple, but good thing that this is only gonna be for you to understand when you read it. But for the sake of the final of the national certification, it's a good thing to understand when they talk about hyperthyroidism, because they're gonna ask for the entire meaning, or hypothyroidism, hypercholesterolism. So all those things, at least you keep it in mind that you saw these words. Question number 3, the word root. Here is the key, is the word root. Remember, you shouldn't be thinking about anything else, referring to gland located above the kidneys. I already mentioned it. Above the kidneys, they are sitting on top of the kidneys. What is the name of those glands? A, B, C, or D? Okay, going once. So cream, this means secretions. Thyroid this gland is located by the neck. Thyme is a gland located in the chest. So what is left? Adrenal, because I said the adrenal glands are located. There are two of them. We have two kidneys. They are on top of each kidney. It is above the kidneys. The adrenal glands. That will be the answer. So again, congratulations if you get it right. If you didn't, now you learned the right answer. Okay, number 4, the medical term meaning condition of deficient glucose in the blood. So, condition of deficient glucose in the blood. So, deficient glucose should do the cut. A, B, C, or D. It should be easier. Okay, so let's solve this. Let's go for the suffixes. Remember, let's go for the prefixes because the suffixes emia, emia. Okay, these two because it's blood. This ones doesn't apply. This ones doesn't apply. Process of elimination. Now it says deficient. Deficient says it is less. It is less than. So hyper means more. Hypo means less. So deficiency is hypo. So hypoglycemia is the correct answer. So once again, congratulations if you get it right. If you didn't, no worries. We are in the process of learning. So just don't forget this because these terms are very commonly used because we have tons of diabetic people, tons of diabetic patients. So hyperglycemia, we're going to be seeing that a lot in our workplace. Next, the medical term meaning enlargement of the thyroid gland. A, B, C, or D. Remember, enlargement. That's the most important thing. So let's see who get it. That's the last question, and that's the last part of this chapter. Okay. One more. I want to see one more. Giving a try to see where we're standing. Okay, so we're gonna solve this. So enlargement of the thyroid gland. Addison's disease. We know already Addison's disease is a deficiency of adrenal glands. Cortisol, aldosterone. Graves' disease is an increase in thyroid hormone. This is the person whose eyes are bulgy. Diabetes mellitus or mellitus, this is a condition, chronic condition of having too much glucose sugar within your bloodstream. So goiter, remember, this is the right answer because goiter is an enlargement of the thyroid gland. Remember, this is the bulging that you're going to be seeing within the neck and the anterior part. Remember that I make a comment about that it was not an infection, it was not a swelling, it was enlargement. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we are done with this chapter. We are done with the module. Tomorrow we're going to start a different module, anatomy and physiology, very related to whatever we cover here. But we are going to be discussing in more details about the systems. That's basically what it is. So remember, you have until tomorrow for turning the tests. You have the whole day tomorrow, so don't worry. It doesn't have to be 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. You have the whole day tomorrow. So as soon as you finish it, try to return it back to me and I will grade it and then I will start sending the grades out. Okay, so any questions before we close off for today? Okay, seems like snow. My student likes more like to text. So that's it. We're done with this module. Thank you so much for attending and participating in the class. Just take it easy with this chapter, particularly because it's so many words that you weren't familiar with. But little by little, most of the things that are very commonly used, you're gonna remember them. I'm telling you. And most of the stuff you're gonna be learning it at work because practice is what all you need to recall, to retrieve all these new terms that you learn. Okay, so good night to everyone. Once again, thank you for attending and participating in the class. I will be seeing you tomorrow. Remember, I'm gonna be sending those PowerPoint presentations, whether now or tomorrow morning, and we'll start a new module, okay? All right, so thank you, everyone. Get some rest, because tomorrow is another day, and have a good night, everyone. Bye now.
Teacher.
Okay, take care. Get some rest.